Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 9th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I decided to take a day off, a day to myself, do a little bit of R&R. So far, it's been really good. Got to sleep in a little bit, which is nice. We love that. We love more sleep. What else have we been up to? Other than that, just gaming, hanging out, doing a little research, for episodes, stuff like that. Let's see. Let me do the food corner. The usual. I speaking of usual, I ate bacon cheeseburger, couple of hot dogs, and fries. It was very yummy. I will say the spicy add-on this time was I put hummus on the burger, which is something I learned that I liked. I want to say maybe around 2020 or something like that. I feel like it was around that time because I was definitely doing a lot of like car meals where I'd order something and just go pick it up and then eat it in my car. I think the way it went down was I had went to McDonald's and I had gotten I think it was like a quarter pounder or something like that, double quarter pounder. And then I had also gotten like a kind of like a sides order from like Aladdin's, which is like this Mediterranean food type of situation. So yeah, I mean, gotta say they had some of the best hummus I ever had. It was one of the first times I had hummus in a way that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I just had my burger and I just dipped it in there. But needless to say, this is a little bit different. I just kind of put it on a little bit of a spread, so it wasn't as heavy. But either way, I would definitely do that again. But yeah, that was my meal. Let's see here. Enough idle chit chat. We can go ahead and do the startup if you're ready. I know I am, and then we'll get into some news. Yummy. All right. From CNN. Zelensky fires Ukraine's military chief in major shakeup nearly 2 years into war. President Vladimir Zelensky has announced the dismissal of Ukraine's top commander, General Valery Zaluhny, in the biggest military shakeup since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion almost 2 years ago. The president's move follows tensions between Zelensky and his hugely popular military chief after the failure of Ukraine's much vaunted counteroffensive, and with Ukraine facing a renewed Russian onslaught, manpower and ammunition shortages, and U.S. aid stalled in Congress. Let's see here. This was something that was like kind of a bit of a shock, but at the same time, they had kind of talked about it, I guess, in weeks prior. Like rumors had kind of spread because he came to Zelensky came to Zelensky's office and essentially was told he was going to be fired. So it's like, oh, but then they were like, no, we're not doing it. And then like, we're doing it. Uh, it kind of seems like it might just be a shakeup for shakeup's sake. Some people say that it was because Zelensky kind of was laying things out, was keeping things real. I kind of wanted to read this highlighted portion. Writing after Ukraine's counteroffensive was mostly rebuffed by heavily fortified Russian defenses, he warned that without a great technological leap forward, there will most likely be no deep and beautiful breakthrough, but instead an equilibrium of devastating losses and destruction. Which was very counter to what Zelensky was kind of saying in media. So that's kind of the thing that you don't want between your commander in chief and your general. I understand that, but at the same time, this is a guy that was very popular. Also, another thing that they mentioned in this article was that Zelensky was saying, "Hey, we need more soldiers, so you have to up the amount of draftees to like I think like half a mil." And Zelensky was holding back on that. And I get that for obvious reasons, because that's a PR nightmare. No one wants to get drafted. And in the situation that you have here, where you have this war on your fucking ass, and you're like, we've already done that wave. We've already done a wave of that. And, had to go up against, what's the word I want to look for? Consternation? I feel like that's like way too heavy of a word for this. But, people didn't like that. So he doesn't want to do that again. Like, he doesn't want to, risk PR for that shit. So, I don't know. I think it definitely is a curious move. I think, it's understandable that people are like, you don't do something like this. You don't just sack your head of military right in the middle of a war. Like, that's a bad move. It's not smart. But I mean, time will tell. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I have thoughts, but there's no reason to spill them on the page. And there's more details, of course, but I mean, feel free to read them. They kind of have a little bit more of the histories of both Zelensky, and then there's, I should mention the replacement, my bad. That would be good. Zelensky's replacement will be Alexander Syrsky, who since 2019 has served as commander of Ukrainian land forces. So he's the new guy. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how things go. I'll keep you posted on the Ukrainian front when I get more information. Let's move on to the next beat. Let's go to the States. Talking about Joe Biden. From ABC News, special counsel won't charge Biden in classified docs probe, despite evidence he willfully retained materials. Special counsel Robert Hur said he will not recommend charges against President Joe Biden for his handling of documents while out of office, despite finding evidence that Biden willfully retained materials, capping a year-long investigation that loomed over the 2024 presidential election. As he drew a bright line with the case against former President Donald Trump, who faces criminal indictment for his handling of classified documents after he left office, saying that Trump refused to return his documents and obstructed justice. Trump has pleaded not guilty. Nonetheless, throughout the 388-page report, Hur painted a dim picture of the president, one that his political opponents immediately seized on, as an elderly man with memory issues who could not remember when he finished his term as vice president or when his son Beau died. Now, I gotta tell you, I really thought that this part, the last part I read to y'all, was the most damning part of this whole investigation. And I think that's more or less a takeaway from everyone, because everyone kind of agrees that, like, hey, if you want to put them both together, because I know that was what Trump and, people of his ilk were trying to do, is like saying, hey, like, they both did classified documents. Everyone does this kind of shit. Like, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. And it's like, in some ways it's not that big of a deal, and in other ways it's fucking not. Like, these investigations do have to get run through their paces, especially when you have such a tranche of information. It's not just like a little special memo or something that you kept. Like, all these things are a part of government record. That's just how this fucking shit works. But the fact of the matter is, Joe Biden said, oh, we do have all these documents, which they go into the details in this article, saying, like, I think a lot of the documents he was trying to wrangle, even though he really shouldn't have been, he was trying to wrangle for a book that he was making, because, like, they mentioned a ghostwriter a lot. So essentially he had a bunch of documents, and then also a bunch of handwritten things that he had, and essentially he had those so that he could relay those for, like, memoirs type shit. But I think the biggest dagger here to Biden, because I think everyone more or less, like, anyone with, like, sane brain about this kind of shit, who's not, like, playing team shit, kind of understands, like, okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. Biden cooperated. Donald Trump didn't. That's why the Mar-a-Lago shit is just way more, like, of a criminal fucking ilk. And not to mention the type of documents, and, like, they're in your shower, and, like, you have people coming to your estate. And with Biden, this is a fucking rental home that you no longer even have anymore. I don't know. To me, it's still different, but I think the most damning thing is that they're like, bro, you didn't even know, like, that you didn't even have, like, a time frame of reference of, like, when you were in office, when your son was alive and not alive. You know what I mean? Like, these are the kind of things that really hammer in the whole thing that people fear and don't like about Biden when it comes to, like, his age. It's like, he's just so mentally, like, fragile. And that's literally what they said is like a reasoning for why they don't want to take this to trial. Like, yeah, we could take this to trial, but like in our extensive amount of interviews between him and a bunch of other motherfucking people, we realized that like Biden could just do this on the stand and people would just be sympathetic to that because he's an old guy. Of course he doesn't know his head from his asshole right now. Now for Biden and, you know, the administration, they're really trying to get ahead of it. They're like saying, hey, you guys did these interviews, like you interviewed him during like the middle of the October 7th stuff. So like everything was going on. It was really hectic, blah, 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 blah. Like he's actually very competent. He totally remembers when his son died. Like, I mean, okay, you can say that shit, but like when people are interviewing you and it looks like you're fucking just fucking spacing out, like you don't fucking remember this or that, that's not good, fam. It doesn't look good for you. So, I mean, and honestly, I've said this shit before. Take the old guy shit, put that in a box. It is how Joe Biden has conducted himself throughout these 4 years that are the things that make him just not worthy of being a president again. You know what I mean? Like, he's done enough, or I should say not done enough in so many fucking ways that make this like such a fucking problem. Like, because really Donald Trump is such a bad candidate. It should just be an easy fucking race every goddamn time. But at the end of the day, Dems don't really give a shit. They don't. And I think Joe Biden is the epitome of that. And he's just saying, hey, I will sell you a false promise and I will tell you that I'm going to be the most milquetoast guy. And that's my spiel. That's my speech, Jack. And I mean, yeah, I mean, that's where we're at with this shit. I know I'm kind of, you know, bit of an aside here, but yeah, I knew I needed to talk about this shit just because, you know, it's about the documents and essentially this is concluding it. I think at least in some ways you can say, hey, you know, let's just like wrap this up, move on. You know, this is something now you can't really come for Biden on, but at the same time, like I said, it really did hammer on like the whole, like, he's just too old. He's just unfit. Like, and I didn't expect that uppercut to come out of this situation. So, you know, that was enlightening. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go on to the next beat. From The Guardian. What do you mean the tower is gone? Thieves steal 200-foot structure from Alabama radio station. What a fucking heist. I'm still racking my brain on how this even works, but let's chop it up. An Alabama radio station has been forced to temporarily shut down after thieves stole a 200-foot radio tower. WJLX, a station in Jasper, Alabama, was ordered to go off air by the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, after thieves took the station's AM tower last week, The Guardian first learned. I gotta give them their props. In all my years of being in the business, around the business, everything like that, I've never seen anything like this. WJLX General Manager Brett Elmore told The Guardian. You don't hear of a 200-foot tower being stolen. No, you don't. I don't understand how this fucking happened. Apparently, I think like other things were like stolen, like copper and stuff like that. So, you know, apparently maybe this was just people just, you know, trying to be advantageous and just take what they could. But at the same time, there had to have been some level of prep or planning. And also, it's stated in this article that maybe that's unrelated, like the copper wire and other potential communication stuff that got stolen from the station. But like people are bringing in theories and hitting up like the station guy saying like, hey, like, you know, maybe like a helicopter took it. Like maybe this is some Ocean's 11 style shit. And I feel like it has to be something like that. But I mean, there is a potential chance that this got caught on surveillance. But a highlighted portion I did want to read. The FCC also notified WJLX on Thursday morning that the station would have to go off the air because of the theft. While WJLX still has its FM transmitter and tower, it is not allowed to operate its FM transmitter while the AM station is off the air. Mind you, the amount of money it would take to replace this is anywhere between $100,000 to $150,000, which is more money than they have, Elmore said, which I completely understand. I really hope, usually you see in these articles like, hey, they're going to do a GoFundMe, but sadly people are just like, hey, I think a helicopter took it. Like, God damn it, man. Like, can't you see I'm in crisis? I don't need your fucking goddamn theory. Do you know? Like, did you see the helicopter? Otherwise, shut the hell up. Let's see. Yeah, I think though that there is a poultry plant and maybe another place that has like potential surveillance. And they might be able to like shed some light on things. Yeah, it was a nearby poultry plant. Um, yeah, despite the bad news, Elmore remains hopeful that the surveillance video from the nearby poultry plant or witnesses employed at the plant can help piece together who stole the station's tower. Please, because like that's such a crazy caper. I need to know for my own personal like just sake because how do you do this? This is a really big heist. And I've said this before on the podcast. I'm a sucker for a heist. I'm a sucker for a good heist. I mean, not to say that these are good. Please don't heist. Don't do that. But like, damn, like I gotta say that's kind of impressive. Like, and if it is like the kind of person who takes a copper wire and is also the same kind of person who can take a 200-foot tower, wow, impressive, to say the fucking least. So it's one of those things where I gotta know. Anyway, that's that. Let's move on to our last beat, and then I will let you go for the day. Let me go ahead and do my last break, and then we'll do that. Ooh. Ooh. From the BBC. Trapped orcas escape from drift ice near Japan. A pod around a dozen killer whales trapped by drift ice in waters off Japan's northern island appears to have successfully escaped, officials say. The stranded orcas were spotted by fishermen earlier this week, almost a kilometer off Hokkaido. Drone footage showed the animals packed closely together and sticking their heads out of the water to breathe. This sparked an official response, with officials traveling to the seaside town to monitor the whales. The footage also shown on Japanese TV, prompting a wave of public concern for the animals this week and calls for government assistance. Now, the government said, hey, there's not much we can really do. Like, it would be great for us to be able to come out and break the ice, but it's just not really going to work. And luckily, they were able to get out. And at least it appears that they were able to get out. And I learned something from this. Apparently, they can only, killer whales can only sustain, underwater breath. I mean, they can only stay underwater for I think they can only hold. There it is. There's what I'm looking for. I found the words. They can only stay underwater for like a few minutes. Yeah, according to Japanese media reports, orcas, unlike other large whales, can't remain underwater for too long and need to resurface every few minutes. I think maybe like they top out at like maybe 15 minutes or so. So that's why this was such a tenuous, scary situation. You know, you would hate to see like orcas just die in this kind of way, but it was great to see that they were able to get out and get free. So hell yeah, we love to see it. I'm happy to close out on a good note. And yeah, that's the episode. That's all we have. That's it. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to hit me up or follow me on any of the socials, either me or the podcast. Let's see. Also, I'm on YouTube. That helps out a lot if you subscribe to that and hit the like button, leave a cool comment. Always love to see that. And hey, if you're feeling really frisky, go ahead and share it. Share it to your friends. Let them know. Let them know what we're about over here at Isaiah's Newsstand. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really have. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.